Welcome to Legal 123s with ByrdAdatto. Legal issues simplified through real client stories and real-world experiences. Creating simplicity in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back to another episode of the Legal 123s with ByrdAdatto. I'm your host, ByrdAdatto, with my co-host, Michael Byrd.
Thanks, Brad. As a business and healthcare firm, we represent clients in multiple sectors and multiple specialties, especially healthcare, obviously. This season, we are searching for common ground for our audience, and we'll be bringing in many guests to help us. This season's theme is the universal language, business.
You know, Michael, in Texas, you would call it business.
It seems like there has to be a segment where you are speaking a different language, Brad. So there, I guess this week it's Texan.
Yes.
Okay, well, let's move on. I want to talk today about something even more interesting than your language. It doesn't take much. The discipline of practice.
You want to talk about the discipline of practice. No one likes to practice the things, Michael. I'm pretty sure they don't even want to hear about it. So we do want people to listen. Why you're asking about practice?
Well, stay with me, Brad.
Right.
So without practice, it would not look so easy when I beat you at whatever competition we've drummed up. And yes, sure, I would beat you even without practice, but it would not look so easy.
Riley, I'm really worried about Michael today. Did you notice if he was doing some whiskey shots before he came in here? He does sound a little delusional to me. Riley's agreeing with me. You do sound delusional.
It's just quiet confidence, Brad, except without the quiet.
Of course.
Yeah. So, Brad,
yes,
you have heard the expression, practice makes perfect.
Yes, practice, Michael.
Yeah. So, well, when I played tennis back in the day, that's actually a real sport. I had it drilled into my brain with my first tennis coach that, no, that's not correct. He would say perfect practice makes perfect.
Oh.
And it actually affects my mindset to this day.
And when you were saying tennis coach, did you mean to bring up your typing coach since you went to state in typing?
Hey, that's a different episode. We could do a full 2-hour special on my typing skills.
Yes. Mad typing skills audience. So if we're talking about practice, I had, as you know, I was a football player. And so good that, as you probably know, that I was being recruited to play in college. But that's a whole nother story, Michael. But our coach basically wanted to make practice miserable because they wanted to prepare you for game day. And so that's the one thing I always remembered was that if you practice harder, during practice, if you practice harder than actual games are actually easier.
Okay, well, I'm feeling that Uncle Rico feeling again for you over there. You could have won state, I'm sure, Brad. Yes, we know. Well, so do you know who said this quote? Taking on a challenge is a lot like riding a horse, isn't it? If you're comfortable while you're doing it, you're probably doing it wrong.
Sounds like a phenomenal motivator, and I'm assuming we're going back to one of our favorite TV shows, Ted Lasso.
Yes, this is not our first Ted Lasso reference on our show.
Yes, and for our audience members who did not listen to last time we talked about Ted Lasso, it's an Apple TV show. He's a college football coach who gets hired by an English Premier League football club, aka in America, soccer. And Ted is this super kind-hearted, great guy who has great vision, but all these awesome quotes. So we enjoy Ted Lasso quotes around here.
Yeah, and the best image for the benefits of practice for me are if you think about in baseball, those batting weights that baseball players put on their bats when they're on deck.
Michael, I don't know if people still watch baseball. Last time I checked, like a baseball game lasts like 3 or 4 days.
Mm-hmm.
But use a vocabulary word. So, I like to make people define what are batting weights.
Well, fair point. Fair point about baseball, especially because they may not be playing at all this season. Yeah. Who knows by the time this airs? But I think everyone can picture it. It's they look like donuts they put on the end of the bat. And I actually Googled it to see what the quoted benefits are other than the obvious. And there was an article. There's multiple reasons that these batting weights are good for your swing.
Like when you hit the ball, it feels lighter.
Well, that's the one that I think intuitively all know. But it also said that it helps you build your batting swing muscles.
Okay.
It helps you loosen up your muscles.
Sure.
And they say it's great for batting practice to practice your mechanics with one of these.
All right. Well, I appreciate all the baseball talk I'll have this year. And I'm hoping our audience is not tuned out thinking they're listening to some sports radio, since we're talking about tennis, typing, and now batting. And hopefully our guest today is not a baseball player, or we're not throwing shades at anyone who's a baseball fan. So that's not what we're trying to say.
I can't say for sure. He's pretty athletic. But
yeah.
Our guest today is our friend and client, Amir Mortazavi.
Hey, guys.
Hello. I'm glad you're here. Amir is a great example of running his first healthcare business with the proverbial bat weight before getting into the medical spa world.
All right. You got to tell the audience what you mean by that.
Well, certain types of healthcare are the heaviest from a regulatory perspective. Amir learned how to navigate healthcare with all of those regulations. And so compliance in elective medicine feels like you took the batter weight off the bat when you get into it.
Well, okay, Michael. So you referenced Amir. And for our audience members, Amir, if you're watching a video, is a good-looking boy. So I definitely recommend you go to the video and see. We finally got a pretty face.
We ran them all off just when it was just the two of us.
And more importantly, Amir is our first guest ever who is actually going to be here live in studio with us, because obviously we started our show during COVID, so we're happy to have him. But Michael, why don't you give Amir's background before we fully bring him in?
Amir is a reformed CPA. He's the CEO and founder of Vitalyc, where he leads the company's expansion and overall strategy. He's spent the last 12 years leading companies. He's sold 3 of his companies to private equity. And as I mentioned, he has extensive experience in the healthcare industry.
Yeah. Welcome, Amir.
Thank you, guys. What a warm introduction. I think I need to record this and send it to my wife so she realizes who she's yelling at every night.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm sure you're like, and they think I'm good looking too, honey.
Yeah. No. She definitely thinks I'm good looking.
There you go.
All right.
Good.
Annoying is more.
Well, so did that analogy fit?
I think so. When I got into healthcare, it was 2007. And it was by accident. So I had left public accounting, and I was working in advertising sales, and I had invested into a healthcare company kind of as a passive investor. And it was a skilled nursing and physical therapy company, home healthcare for all intents and purposes. So I wasn't really involved. Put some money in, and we had an operations team that was running it. Well, they didn't do a very good job, and that doesn't work for me. So, got real hands-on. The only thing that I knew about healthcare is that my father's a cardiologist, and that's,
we understand that world well.
Call him if someone has a heart attack or a stroke. But I mean, I didn't know anything about the rules or regulations. And when you start out in a predominantly Medicare business, you learn everything super fast. I mean, there's no gray area. It's all black and white. And in that business, we're caring for generally elderly people that are rehabbing. So not to be confused with hospice, which is end of life. This is like rehabilitation. So, and home health held a very special place in my heart. My grandfather was able to come to my college graduation because of home health care providers. So I knew that it was something that I could really sink my teeth into and get passionate about. But the landscape from a regulatory perspective was wrought with fraud. It had, the heat task force going after a new company. I started this business in San Antonio, Texas. So probably one of the more gentle markets in terms of like healthcare fraud, but still there was a lot of it going on. So everybody had to kind of wear these, black eyes from the industry, not because we did anything wrong, but because so many others were committing fraud. There was a big case in Dallas that you guys remember, Jacques Roy, right? That was like, it was $1 billion healthcare fraud in home care, and like that sent ripples throughout the industry. And we never participated in any theatrics like that. We never had medical directors. We never paid for referrals. It wasn't anything like that, but it was just, you felt it in that small community in San Antonio. And that's kind of where I I would say, took my licks and kept on ticking. We had to build a business strictly based on service, strictly based on customer experience, you're competing with publicly traded companies that have a lot more sales reps than you, and you just have to do a really good job. So learned how to kind of focus on the client first and do things that, other home care agencies wouldn't do, like go to the outskirts of town, like the equivalent of, Prosper or Sherman, and start from the outside, work in. Everybody wants the clients that are in the city.
Right.
Sure.
But, you got to start where you can get clients, and that's.
So I'm curious, like with it not being as heavy, the fraud in San Antonio, did you confront from a competition perspective having to go up against people that were doing it illegally?
Absolutely. And one of the things that, nobody knew at the time was 1099 labor.
Right.
And they didn't understand how the relationship between 1099 labor and a company that billed federal health plans. So we had some commercial insurance, some of the major payers, but most of our business was Medicare, and other companies, small companies, not the big players, but they were paying people kind of carte blanche for referrals, essentially. The rep, not the doctor, right? And we tried to do that. Our lawyer said, no, you can't.
Yeah. Good answer.
Absolutely not. And so now we're going to these reps and saying, hey, you shouldn't be doing this. And now we're, policing. We just stopped trying to do that. We just did our own thing, focused on our business, focused on what we can control.
So did you ever have the moment you're like, why did I get into this?
A couple times, and not for the reasons that we've been discussing before. I was, mid to late 20s, and I was kind of a hothead back then, and I was dealing in a workforce much like I am now that's predominantly women, and that didn't go over too well. So I remember I called my mom and I said, hey, I'm having some issues, like dealing with this female workforce. What should I do? She said, you need to listen, son. Pretty much gave me my script for the next 20 years of my life, because now I just listen, and I had a little couch in my office. Tell me your problems. How can I help? Sometimes there was nothing I could do to help. They just wanted me to listen. Yeah. So, but yes, the landscape in that business got kind of strange because they were doing rack audits and all these different audits for no reason. Yeah. Like it wasn't utilization. You didn't hit any, P or rack audit. It was none of that. It was just because they could. Yeah. And it's very hard to operate a business that's, 60% labor based if they turn off the faucet. So we did well with it. We grew it to about 3 locations, sold it. So, it was a good 4.5 year run, but learned a lot, totally invaluable lessons, took it, all across South Texas. So it was a learning experience of a lifetime.
Well, let's talk about some of those experiences. So you have all this background and experience in one part of the healthcare industry. Tell us, our audience, how you then took that and applied it to the aesthetic or the med spa space.
Sure. One thing, that business, I told you, was totally by accident. Right. So there's nothing deliberate about it. Once I got involved, obviously tried to learn, be a sponge, learn from the best in the industry. But what I learned from that experience was you have to start with the foundation for success. And that's the business structure, making sure that it's compliant, making sure that it's tax efficient. One example I'll give you in the home care, you have to be licensed in each county. They don't say that, and they don't not pay you if you're not licensed in the county. So if you're on like a county line of, say, like Collin County and Tarrant County, for example, and the person lives on the other side of the county that you went and served, that you're in violation of CMS guidelines. We didn't know that, so we asked for forgiveness, and they were pretty cool about it. Didn't want to do that this time around, so I did years and years of research. As you guys know, I came and started talking to you in 2017 when I was thinking about getting into this business. And setting up that foundation for success, not just the corporate structure, not just the right team, learning about the services, really becoming kind of student and going to all the conferences. I was telling both of you guys at AmSpa that, it was crazy for me to go back, having gone to the first AmSpa conference. Was it 2018?
Yeah.
We would like to call that the prequel, since I wasn't there. So,
but just how it's grown. I mean, I felt like I was there for that growth because I'd been back to one before, the ARIA before COVID, but I hadn't been back since. So it was just having the right things in place, learning about the different treatments, learning about techniques and providers. Now, I don't treat people, but I hire people to treat, knowing the right, questions to ask and how to verify them, how to validate their training, how to do injection observations with your trainers, with the plastic surgeon to make sure that they're doing it right. I mean, all these things I would have kind of just ran fast and loose in my 20s. Now, being in my 40s, I'm a little more calculated, and I know what's at stake now because we're still a medical practice. We're still, helping people, but we're doing so in a way that is, at their choice, and we're not dealing with insurance companies. We're not dealing with any, government payer, but we treat it the same.
Yeah.
We treat it like it was a federal payer. We treat it like it was, CMS regulated, because that's the right way to be. That's the right
great
way
mentality.
Yeah.
So talk about some of your lessons learned, even with all this prep work. I'm sure that y'all have, gained some wisdom the hard way along the way with the med spa world.
Sure. I took, a couple of years to kind of see what I liked and didn't like about various practices. I was traveling quite a bit in 2016 to 2018, end of 2018 when I signed my first lease. But one of the things that I noticed was a lot of these practices were like open 3.5 days a week. And from like 9:45 to like 4, which I'm at work at that time. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah.
Joking. But I mean, the hours were not commensurate with somebody that's a working professional.
Yeah.
Maybe that worked for them. It just wasn't for me. So, one of the things I said is like, what can we do that's different? Let's have extended hours. Let's open really early in the morning for the people that want to catch us before they drop the kids off. And let's be open after 5 o'clock. Right now our hours are 8 to 7. So 11 hours every day and weekends. Let's be open for when it's convenient for other people, not when it's convenient for us. I'll find the staff.
Yeah.
That was my mentality. One of the other kind of gripes I had with the industry was, how do you make an appointment? You pick up the phone and call. Who calls anymore? It was ad nauseum. It was so frustrating. Get there, they hand me this disgusting clipboard that's got paper on it and a pen that has SARS. I mean, I was grossed out. I said, why can't they have an app for booking? Like, booking an appointment at a medical spa for Botox should be as easy as ordering an Uber. So we created an app and makes booking completely easy. Same day treatments, like, oh, you have to make an appointment. And like, they'll all tell you that, like, oh, we can't, we're so busy. You're not busy. Have the staff so that you can see people that same day. Create marketing that will make sure that funnel is full, and be prepared to kind of have that concierge mentality. Like, it's not on your terms, it's on their terms. We're trying to change the industry. We're trying to democratize aesthetics. You can't just be open 3.5 days a week and, only see people, 6 months out. Nope. You're not going to get any new business, or you're not going to want to grow, which is counterintuitive to me.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense. And so now we're taking what, your other business ideas, you've kind of applied them, and let's talk about, for you at least, it sounds like maybe one of them is this app, or your proudest business strategies or accomplishments that you would have that you just brought generally into this industry.
So one of the muscles that I didn't get to use much in home healthcare was advertising and marketing.
Oh, I thought you were going to say typing.
No.
Because that's what Michael's really good at.
Amazing. I'm not, but, there's nothing fun about marketing in-home nursing and physical therapy.
Yeah, sure.
Respectfully.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of fun things you can do with Botox and M-Sculpt and Cool Sculpting and Juvederm. So using those creative muscles to create content and marketing. And I don't do it myself. I have a whole team that's super smart.
Yeah.
Social media wizards and graphic designers and artists and videographers. I mean, you guys have a kind of a film studio here, and I joke because that's what our office is. It's literally a film studio. I mean, we're shooting content constantly. That's probably the most rewarding because it's funny. It gets people to think about something different. Like last Thanksgiving, we cool sculpted a turkey.
That was awesome.
You know? And we said like, bye thighs. And it was like this whole, TikTok dance.
That's awesome.
That stuff is fun and engaging. And I mean, we could do a whole nother podcast just on some of the marketing stuff that we've done that I'm super proud of. Like I was noticing that we were getting a lot of primary language Spanish speaking clients. And they were extremely loyal. They were referring us to their friends because the treatments worked. And I thought, why aren't we doing Spanish language advertising?
Mm.
So we started doing Spanish language advertising, and floodgates open. It just starts coming in. Like you don't realize the reach that you have.
Yeah.
And we put together all this content. Like now it's in different languages. Now we have a copywriter in Spanish that's proofing all of our copy.
That's so cool.
And I would say that's from my personal favorites, proudest business moments and strategies. I'm also proud of the training program that we have. So one of the things that I noticed in this industry was that you have a whole lot of newbies. Maybe they did some kind of weekend injection course or a laser course or something, but they're either an esthetician, an RN, an NP, a PA. Sometimes they're even doctors.
Yeah.
They have zero experience in this industry. So you have a lot of those, and you have a lot of people that have 10 plus years experience. Not a whole lot in the middle. There's some, but I'd say it's, that's the big divide, is a lot of newbies, a lot of, people that are kind of set in their ways and they're kind of the industry experts. So if you're going to grow a company with the growth plan that we have, you're going to need a constant influx of really sharp providers.
Yeah, especially if you have that much hours open too.
Yeah. So we have to be constantly training people and creating those opportunities for them. Whereas nobody would ever hire a nurse out of nursing school, or one that came out of med surg or OR, or an esthetician that just got out of the oval school. Like that doesn't happen. They work front desk somewhere, they earn their stripes, and then maybe they'll get an opportunity. We're creating, almost an apprenticeship program where we're cycling people through like newbies, like literally just got out of school, and training them how the inside of the house works to where the back of house works to how treatment works. And we just started it last year, and we're 6 months in, but I'm super proud of that. It's giving us a platform to launch all the locations that we're opening in Texas.
Have you found, you can't open any article without seeing all the stuff about, the Great Resignation and how difficult it is to recruit. Have you found that's helped with recruiting?
It has, but, we also train people on lasers. Like we're a Cyton Center of Excellence. We're doing training constantly. Our clinical director is a Cyton luminary. So we're doing trainings, quarterly with 50, 60 people that are wanting to learn how to fire a laser.
And are these people working for you or just in general?
They're considering being a Cyton client. Gotcha. They are wanting to learn how to fire a laser, and they're coming to us to learn that.
And you got to kind of kick the tires with them as they kick the tires with you.
Absolutely.
It's kind of smart.
Yeah. So I think in this space, and I'm a firm believer that what's good for everybody is good for everybody. Like the same way that if something bad happens, if there's
it goes back to your story about getting the black eyes in the old industry you're in.
Yeah. But if something terrible happens, if something that, if there's an occlusion, or if there's a shark bite from a cool sculpting applicator, if it happens for one person, I don't care what city it's in, it affects all of us. So my wish is that everyone is providing the highest level of service, the best outcomes, and that's going to help everybody that's in the industry.
Totally agree with that.
And we're just trying to do what we can in our small little corner of the world to add to that, create, not just content, but programs that can help educate and bring people up that are interested in being in this industry long term, like we are.
And Amir, I want to give a shout out to your med spas, but I don't think we've actually said the name of it for our audience. Tell the audience where can they find your med spa?
So Vitalyc, our flagship location, first location, opened in the height of COVID, June of 2020. That's in University Park.
There you go.
So not too far from here. Park City's location serves pretty much greater Dallas. We have Addison location that just opened in January.
Congrats.
We have South Lake that's opening at the end of this month.
Nice.
And then Fort Worth will be opening in September. Looking to sign a lease here in Frisco in the next probably month and a half, and then on to Houston. So
for our audience members who don't know, he's basically dominating the entire DFW is what he's basically describing.
Yeah.
Trying to.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dallas is home. We're gonna stick our flag in here. And that was my thesis from the beginning, is like, what's the most competitive city to open one of these in? Dallas, Texas. All right. If we can do it here, we can do it anywhere.
Smart.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Well, I'll speak for Brad, and we've been on a panel with you before, that having your background, your commitment to doing things the right way is really good for the industry. And I'm just so glad that you came on with us today to share. And of course, it's been a pleasure representing you and helping you build. And I'm sure we'll be seeing some leases here soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, what we'll do next is we'll go into commercial, and on the other side, Brad and I will kind of do a little legal wrap up on today's episode.
Yeah. Thanks, Amir.
Thank you, guys.
Many business owners use legal counsel as a last resort rather than as a proactive tool that can further their success. Why? For most, it's the fear of unknown legal costs. ByrdAdatto's Access Plus program makes it possible for you to get the ongoing legal assistance you need for one predictable monthly fee. That gives you unlimited phone and email access to the legal team, so you can receive feedback on legal concerns as they arise. Access Plus, a smarter, simpler way to access legal services. Find out more. Visit ByrdAdatto.com today.
Welcome back to Legal 123's the ByrdAdatto. I'm your host, ByrdAdatto, with my co-host, Michael Byrd. Now, Michael, this season we're searching for this common ground, and our theme is the universal language, business. And we just had a great time. Amir was here with us, and so our audience, Amir has left so that Michael and I could talk behind his back. No, just kidding, Amir. We're not talking behind your back. It was awesome, and we learned a lot about where he comes from. Talked about regulatory implications, everything. But I thought one of the things that was a great takeaway for any business is understanding training and education, and how crucial that is for no matter if you're in the healthcare industry or any other kind of business at all. What are some of your takeaways, just again, focusing on the legal side of that our audience should consider?
Yeah. So, any business, including us, we invest a ton into training and education, and it's so that you'll be a better workplace and you'll have a stronger team and all those business reasons. You, as a business, have to think about, okay, if we're going to do this, how do we make sure we retain the people that work here because of all this investment we're making in them?
Right.
And that's where the legal comes in. And that's where you have to think about, are we going to have a carrot or a stick, or a carrot and a stick approach? And what I mean by that is, a carrot approach is, okay, well, we're going to incentivize them by letting them know that we're going to provide training and education, and that's a benefit that they'll get here. We may even create some incentive financial programs to keep them in financially. For higher level executives, it may even be equity in some level, or stock options or something like that. And then, of course, the carrot or the stick approach is, are we going to have restrictive covenants like non-competes? And if we're going out of pocket for training, are we going to make them pay us back if they leave? And there are state-by-state issues that go with that, on how you can do it, if you can do it. And but any business that is looking to implement, these types of programs, should consider, how are they going to, incentivize or disincentivize people from, incentivize them to stay or disincentivize them from leaving.
Yeah, and I think the important takeaway for that is, for our audience to think of, is if you are going to build out this robust training program, you want it for, obviously it's for the benefit of your business and obviously your customers, whether or not they're patients or not. But you also need to make it the benefit of your business. And the best way to do that is having one or both those programs, whether either you have the carrot or their stick. And if you don't do that, no matter how great your training program will be, if it's just a revolving door, you're never going to be able to scale, which is what Amir had talked about, your business, without having some ability to protect that key ingredient, which is certain key staff members. But, Michael, we're almost out of time today. I'd love just any final thoughts you have before we leave for the day.
We started the day talking about practice and listening to Amir talk about the practice or the prep work he did before he even opened a spa. The amount of research he did is so key. And I would just, encourage anyone in any business to do the planning and the work to prepare yourself for success. And if you do that, then you too can beat Brad at anything without much effort.
Fake news. All right, audience. Love today's episode. Next Wednesday show, we have a CEO and founder of MedSpa Partners, Dominique Maison, who will be joining us. So cannot wait for that episode. Thanks again for joining us today. And remember, if you like this episode, please subscribe. Make sure to give us a 5-star rating and share with your friends.
You can also sign up for the ByrdAdatto newsletter by going to our website at ByrdAdatto.com.
ByrdAdatto is providing this podcast as a public service. This podcast is for educational purposes only. This podcast does not constitute legal advice, nor does it establish an attorney-client relationship. Reference to any specific product or entity does not constitute an endorsement or recommendation by ByrdAdatto. The views expressed by guests are their own, and their appearance on the program does not imply an endorsement of them or any entity they represent. Please consult with an attorney on your legal issues.